Now we're live. Welcome, people. If anyone's listening, if anyone's tuning in, we're happy to have you here.
My first thing out of the.
You what?
I said I hate to be cough. This is my first greeting to everyone going live. I do not have anything serious. I think it's just some allergies going around. So
I have serious allergies, and I had to go to the dentist today. And at one point, I sneezed, and I was like, "It's just allergies." I know it's bad. All right, I'm going to go. We do have a couple people tuning in. So if you're there, if you can let us know. Oh, Courtney said howdy. Hey, Courtney. We're glad that you're here. I'm going to go see what my iPad is doing at the moment.
Yeah, so what is this? It's Tuesday. Gosh, don't even know what day of the week it is. So happy Tuesday, everybody. Hopefully you're having a good start to your week. We've heard from some folks that it was a busy weekend, so hopefully that was the case for you and your business.
Busy weekends are good.
Absolutely. So,
all right, it does look like we does look like it's working, so that's good. Oh, Portia just got her new car. What kind of car did you get, Portia?
Awesome.
Sabine is here. My brother had to get a new car because his car was totaled from hail. That's some serious.
Kansas City, that's my neck of the woods where my family's from. Well, I was born in Kansas City on the Kansas side. Now we're on the other side of the state. But
I don't know. There were some serious storms out in the Midwest. Did you get any of those storms? There were like I saw Jess's Facebook page yesterday, and she, like a tree fell on her car or something. I don't think she was. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
So I guess Debbie was saying Debbie from Closer Bond were saying they got really bad wind. And so, yeah, hopefully everyone's staying safe. There was a tornado or a earthquake in Virginia or something. No, in Tennessee. I don't know. Someplace out there, the East Coast. Portia got a 2020 Honda Fit XL. Nice. So much smaller than I was used to. Now you're going to not take as much dog stuff with you. That's the stuff that always takes all the room in my car is all the dog stuff. Kansas City, Missouri. Bad straight windstorm was north of us. Chicago got hit bad. Yeah, that's what I heard, that Chicago got a lot of that weather from yesterday. So 2020 continues, as they say. It's crazy. But should we get started? Or do you want to talk about the weather some more?
No, I think we should focus on the other good parts of 2020, which is how can we make this challenge to make as much money or as close to as much money in revenue as you did last year. That's the challenge we're putting out today.
That is the challenge. Portia said my dogs are getting smaller. Okay, that's pretty funny. So the challenge is, this will take grit and determination. So I'm not going to say this is an easy challenge, but the challenge is to see if you can generate at least the same amount of revenue this year as you did last year. And that's the challenge that Susan and I have taken on for our company. I'm not sure we're going to get there, but we're going to get close. We're going to get close as possible. And we are basically looking at our finances every month and saying, okay, what else can we do? Because we have a projection for what we think we're going to do. And then if it's not hitting our goal of let's get to where we were last year, then we're just trying to brainstorm new ideas. So that is our challenge to all of the businesses out there in the pet industry. And I know that's a significant challenge because for many of you, if not all of you, from March until now, you've pretty much taken a devastating hit, especially in the lodging, if you're doing lodging. So, but across the board, pretty much grooming came back. So some groomers took a time off or took a break, not because they wanted to, but because of COVID. And grooming came back really strong. Training, same thing. Training got hit, and then trainers pivoted, started doing online lessons, and training now is coming back for the majority of folks that we're talking with. Daycare, Some of them took a hit. Some stayed open as essential businesses, but now we're starting to see them come back. Pet sitting, dog walking, they're still, I don't think, coming back as strong as some of the others. They're starting to get some revenue back. And then lodging is not really coming back that strong at all. We are starting to see weekend lodging picking up. So that's good. And we had a lot of people that had positive numbers over 4th of July weekend. But is that going to sustain you through the rest of the year is kind of the question. So what are some starting points that you would kick this off with, Susan?
Well, I think the key thing is to change your mindset that whatever marketing you were doing before and having plans for revenue, be open to doing different things. And, we like to have a budget and to have a plan. So I would look at, what was your revenue last year and what has your revenue been so far this year and how big is the gap? That's where you got to start, is what the gap is, and maybe look at if things continue as they have been and kind of forecast August, September, October, November, December, based on what you've seen in the last month, what do you think that projected revenue would look like? And then see how big that gap is. And I think the key thing would be to definitely be open to different revenue streams and different marketing strategies than maybe you've employed before. And as Robin said at the very beginning, a lot of this is kind of persistence and determination and having that goal of what number you want to reach. Now, if you think it's impossible to do what you did last year, set a different number, but I would make one that's a little challenging that is going to make you work for it. Because I think a lot of times we don't know what we're capable of accomplishing until we kind of set that goal out there that challenges us. And as entrepreneurs, don't sell yourself short as to what you can accomplish in a short amount of time. And so we just want you guys on this challenge with us. Because we're, like Robin said, we're doing this for our company and it's not going to be easy. The gap is a pretty big gap right now, but we're not ready to throw in the towel. And what's the worst that's going to happen? If you really drive towards a number, you may hit it or you may come close, but probably what will happen is you're going to have more revenue than you would have if you didn't take on this challenge.
Yeah, and I love, so this is a comment from Jen. Our pet sitting took a huge hit. We pivoted and opened a dog gym. Now our training is crazy busy. Pet sitting has started to come back in our area. Not sure how long it'll last, so we continue to beef up training. So I love that. And here's the thing. I think for all of us that got started in the pet industry, it's because we love the dogs. And for many of you, that translated into, daycare or lodging or pet sitting or whatever services you're offering. That was how you were going to translate that love and entrepreneurship into a business. But I would say go back to the drawing board and go back to why you started it. And I would say for most of the people that we talk to anyway, our experience is people got started because they love dogs. They want to help dogs have a great life. They want to help pet parents. So how can you do that in a different format? Because you basically have two choices. You could just wait for the economy to come back and for business to pick up, and you could lose a lot of money that way. But if you have the money that is set aside so that doesn't disrupt your life, that's great. You could go for that. But for many of us, including me and Susan, we want to take our passion for pets and for business owners and for making life better for those business owners and pets. We want to take that and figure out what else can we do, or what can we tweak, or what can we change. And that's what we're asking you guys to look at as well. So what can you do within your industry that allows you to generate revenue, but still is aligned with your passion? And maybe it's not just all about lodging, or maybe it's not just all about daycare, or maybe it's not just all about doing pet sitting the way you've been doing pet sitting. So that was a great example, Jen, that, they pivoted and started doing a dog gym. And I've actually talked to a couple of businesses that have pivoted and now are not even going to go back to what they had before. So I've heard from a couple of businesses that stopped doing lodging because it dried up because of COVID. They started offering other revenue streams, and now they're like, these are doing so well, And I'm actually liking being away on the weekends, and I don't look at going back on the holidays, and I'm not even going to open lodging again. So that might happen too. We just would say be open to anything and start being creative, because we're all entrepreneurs. So if there's one thing we all have in common, it's creativity. So figure out what you can offer to those pet parents. So that's going to be sort of our challenge to you guys. So couple of things. So yeah, so Jen said we started completely fresh and it totally paid off, which is, that's the thing. If it doesn't work, you haven't lost anything. If it does work, you might gain a whole new revenue stream or change your business model. And maybe you only do it temporarily. It could be that you're just going to do it long enough to generate revenue. And if business does come back, you just go back to your old model because you really liked it. We're just saying be open to taking this challenge with us. All right, let me just go through the comments for a second and see. So Portia said in January, her revenue goal for 2020 was 725. I'm hoping to make 500. Currently not halfway to that yet. So the good thing is that you know the numbers. That really is kind of the starting point. If you don't have something to compare where you are now to where you were last year, that would be the first starting point. And just go back, if you've got your P&L from last year, just use that as a rough estimate. If you had a budget this year already, then use your current budget of what you had currently projected for 2020, and figure out what the delta is from what you budgeted to what you are at now. And then start looking at all the ways you can generate revenue. So, and we've talked about some of these things on some of the other Facebook Lives that we've done. But you don't necessarily have to roll out a whole entire new program. You might just do something temporary. You might do like some educational classes that you're charging a small fee. You might do just a small workshop that's not a continuous activity. It's just going to be a one-time workshop and then you're done. It might be multiple sessions for that workshop. You might do a party, or like it might be a whole bunch of little tiny things that you do to generate revenue. Susan, do you want to throw on anything else from there?
Yeah, I think one that would be timely to think about, especially if you are offering daycare, is to do like a back to school camp for the dogs. And, you created your business to solve a problem for pet parents. And now their problems are different. Now for pet parents that also have kids, they're trying to get used and get virtual school going. So why don't you invite the dog to come stay with you and go back to school with you, so that the pet parent can focus on getting the routine with the kids and all that worked out without having to worry about the dog. So that would be one idea. Anything else back to school would be a good theme to focus on to encourage a party and events. So that was the first thing that came up. If you could do a series of days, make it a camp.
And I would even say for pet sitters and dog walkers who may not have as much business, telling the pet parent, you'll come over from this hour to this hour. Maybe it's a longer period of time, because most dog walking is usually like 20 to 30 minutes. Maybe you offer a longer period of time where you say, hey, you need time to just sit down for 2 hours with your kids. I'll take the dog then. And take the dog on an extended walk, or take the dog and bring him to the daycare, or whatever it is. But maybe that 20-minute dog walk that you would normally offer, you change to something else. Obviously, you would charge more for that as well. But I would say you bring up a really good point, Susan, about you're there to solve problems. So if you guys are not on some local community Facebook page or Nextdoor, like I'm on one specific to my community, that is basically the neighbors in my community get on there. And it's a sort of a frustrating thing. As Susan says, I have a love-hate relationship with it, because there's a lot of negativity on there. But everybody on my Facebook group right now in my neighborhood is talking about what's happening to the kids, because the school district just decided they would delay the school starting time. So everyone out there is like freaking out, because parents who were expecting to send their kids to school and go back to work themselves now can't do that. And now they're trying to figure out how I juggle my kids and teach them and work from home. And so where does the dog fall into that? And how can you solve that solution? So if you're not on some of those local groups, just join them and see what people are talking about, and then figure out how you can solve some of that problem for them. And the whole homeschooling thing right now is huge. So offering something that allows you to get the dog out of the house so that they can focus on the kids or the, whatever they have to do if they're working from home, or give them 2 hours to actually do the homeschooling with their kids, whatever it is a great opportunity to expand your services and tailor it to what the parent needs. So it might look different.
I think the other thing to think about is, especially if you're still in lodging, I would start communicating with clients about making holiday reservations, because a lot of you have reduced staff and they don't realize that, it's going to take time to staff back up. So I would be encouraging my clients to make holiday reservations really soon, so that you can get an idea to know what those numbers are going to look like. Also, since a lot of people haven't traveled and dogs haven't been in, I would be making a recommendation that they need to come in for a trial overnight, just to get used to being back into the center, especially if they're not coming for daycare. So again, that will help the dog. It will help your business and bring in some more revenue where you may not have had that planned. And you're going to have to do some education, because pet parents don't realize why that's important. How is that going to help their dog? You need to approach it from how it helps their dog to get in and come and visit a couple of times before the stressful holiday time period. And people may not know yet, but I'm sure some of them will. So work with the ones that you can to get that set up and going, and educate on why their dogs need to come in.
Yeah, and if you're not doing something with puppies right now, I don't care what service you offer, if you're not offering something for puppies right now, you're missing a huge opportunity, because basically pandemic puppies, we now have a name for them. People have gotten so many puppies right now during this time. So obviously, if you're a trainer, you should be offering some puppy classes and generating revenue from that, and maybe tailor those classes to a little bit different than what they would normally look like, because people aren't going out as much. They aren't taking their puppy. If they would normally socialize their puppy in a wide range of environments, they're probably not doing that right now, because a lot of people can't get out the same amount. If you have grooming services, dog walking services, daycare services, lodging services, it doesn't matter. Tailor something to the puppy, because those puppies, really, we all know, if you're a trainer, especially if those puppies are living with their pet parent 24/7 from the time they come home at 8 weeks to whenever that person goes back to work and the kids go back to school, we all know that's going to create puppies that are overly dependent on having somebody in. They've never learned how to live and exist and be okay by themselves. So offering daycare where, hey, we'll bring your dog in for half a day and make sure that it gets used to being in a new environment without you, and it can stand on its own 4 feet, so to speak. If you're pet sitting, doing classes or doing pet sitting for those puppies, where maybe you're going over more frequently to give that puppy time away from the family. If you're doing lodging, I would recommend that those puppies get used to, in addition to teaching the puppy how to be okay in an enclosure like a crate, then making sure that they're okay staying overnight in a facility, because at some point that puppy is going to have to be somewhere where they're either crated or in an enclosure, whether it's because the owner goes out of town and they want to lodge the dog, or the dog gets sick and they have to go to the vet's office and stay overnight. You're helping to prepare that dog. So those services right now should be a no-brainer for everybody, because there are tons of puppies out there right now, at least in the United States, people getting lots of puppies.
And you can you set up programs where you're helping do the socialization and things that are really important for puppies, that is harder for pet parents to do with the social distancing.
So Stacy said, I have 3 puppy classes, all full right now with 7 to 8 puppies each. Yeah, which is crazy. That's a lot of puppies, and puppies are fun most of the time anyway. Okay, so Kevin said, wait, it's impossible for me to make up the same amount as last year. We have a training facility that hosts multiple events every year with the limit of people in the facility for any event is slashed by 75%. Would love to hear ideas on how to increase our match revenue on the event hosting side. So, okay, so that's a great point. We also do live events, and our biggest live event was canceled last March, 3 days before the pandemic was announced. We had to cancel that event and refund $100,000 to people. So we totally know the pain of not having that ability to do those live events. But we, within 3 weeks from canceling that, we created an online virtual event. So that's one option, is to do a virtual event. The other option is right now, if you're doing things like AKC events, right now, AKC is allowing some virtual things to happen. So one of the facilities in Maryland I saw actually set up, I think it was for rally. They set up a rally course and an actual competition level course. And then they offered to bring people in and they would videotape them and send the videotape to AKC so that that person could get qualified still in rally. So if you're doing events where somebody's doing some testing and the testing organization allows you to send in virtual video, you can set up that to do the video yourself. You can, if you have the room to do that. You can also do lots and lots of stuff with virtual. And I've seen virtual events now done every kind of way. So when we did our virtual event, we actually hired a virtual event company. So we had a trade show, we had an exhibit hall, we had speakers. It was like full blown. But I've also seen people do it just on Zoom, which is a lot lower entry cost, you know, in terms of what you have to put out on your end to get it started. So you could do it on Zoom. I've seen people do Facebook events where they have an event live and they host it within a Facebook group. But I think virtual events are pretty much every industry event that I was going to go to this year is now virtual, whether it's pet industry or the coaching stuff that Susan and I normally would go to for leadership and that kind of thing, all are virtual. So I would definitely look at virtual events to take the place of those in-person sessions. And everybody's pretty much looking at that right now.
Yeah, and you can charge for them. Don't.
Oh yeah, well I would definitely charge for those events as well. So Jen said Nextdoor, which is that app for neighborhoods. Nextdoor has been very good to us. Local Facebook groups too. We started a couple of dog training / dog walker groups and been having fun with those as well. So people are online right now. So if your clients are on those social media platforms, then starting up those. Susan and I were just talking to someone just before this call about our groups, and I would say like 3 to 4 times a month on whether it's Nextdoor or the Facebook groups, there's somebody asking for help with their dog. So it's such an easy way to say, like, here's what I would, pay attention to. And oh, by the way, I do that service too, and meet up with people that way. So any ideas on how to reach new clients who adopted during COVID? So I would go back to, well, there's a couple of things. One is I would go back to make sure your social media is, whatever you're posting in terms of social media is a different message than it was pre-COVID. So I would be posting stuff on my social media page saying, hey, do you know someone who has a puppy? We have this special puppy class, make sure you tag them or send them to us or whatever. Like, make sure that on your Facebook page you are, or Instagram or whatever social media you use, make sure you're promoting the fact that you offer those classes and encouraging people to contact you. I would also look at, we're big fans of creating opt-ins to generate emails. That could be a whole nother session, which we've talked about in the past, but offering some kind of a free tip to a pet parent. That is, the 10 things your dog needs to know within 2 weeks of coming home or whatever. The top 3 things you want a puppy to learn, whether it's house training, and then you just give them a couple tips. And in order to get those tips, they need to give you an email. Once you have their email, you can then market to them because you have their email or a text number or whatever it is. So that's another way. I think veterinarians, if you are in touch with the veterinarians in your community, creating a page on your website that you can tell the vets they can send people to is another option. So that page might be, veterinarians, they don't want to spend an hour with with every client if they can get that information to them some other way. But when puppies come in, they obviously are getting their vet check and they're getting their usually some kind of puppy shots. And then the vet will usually spend some time with them saying, you know, here's some important things. And they answer all the questions that the pet parent has, like how should I feed the dog? How many times? And should they be going to the bathroom? How often? Like all those questions. If you can be the solution to the vet to say, look, we can get you out of spending all that time with the pet parent because we can provide some of that information, and you can do that virtually. That's another way to gain clients, is you get the vets to refer people to you. Susan, do you have any others for that?
No, I think you did a good job on that one.
And Portia said veterinarians as well, because that's who's either breeder, the three places that people get their puppies from: Breeders Rescue. And so those two groups, if you have access to any of those groups, great places to connect with people. And then veterinarians, because the 90% of the pet parents, I would say, will take their dog to the vet once they get them. So those three groups are really key to, you know, connecting with. The other thing, and this is another thing we've talked about, is putting together packages that you can sell to those. So if you're offering a puppy program, for instance, I would also put together like a compatible puppy package of supplies and resources that puppy owner will need. So let's say if I was going to do it, I would probably put in like a cheap leash, a Kong toy, maybe a couple of other good toys for puppy teething, and then probably information on, you know, how to crate train. But put a little package together of 5 or 6 supplies that they would need, and you can sell that as well. So you're basically doing retail sales, but bundling it as the puppy basket that they need. And you could even offer like the basic puppy class, the basic puppy service, or the VIP service, which includes this extra bundle of stuff that they need anyway. So, you know, things like treats, whatever you would normally use when you're working with that puppy, which is also a way to generate more revenue as well. So Liz said, I'm thinking of this, how much are you charging and how many days? I'm assuming you're talking about a puppy class because it came after. Oh, wait. Well, Portia said 50% of new dogs now are puppies under 6 months. That's awesome, Portia. The rest are rescues 30 or more days out from adoptions. We're going to restart the puppy socials with mega distancing. I like that too. Yeah. Next month. So yeah, that's a great idea, doing that. And so any kind of program. So my thing is going crazy. So let's just say I'm thinking of doing this. How much you're charging? Do you want to talk about pricing, Susan?
Yeah, the key thing is you can set up the program based on knowing your market and what you think fits with your brand as far as what's included in any type of program or package. And then you want to make a list of, you know, how many staff hours is that to actually run the program, include any prep time, cleanup time, what supplies you would need, and then add all that up and say, okay, these are my costs. I've got to cover my costs plus make a profit. And with puppy programs, you can make a nice profit on a puppy program. So build in minimum 10%, but I would be looking at closer to 30% or more for a puppy program. And then say, okay, how many puppies do I need to come in? What's going to be reasonable? What's going to be my maximum? And then use that to set your pricing. You can look at what else is done, but it's really hard to look apples to apples comparison on your puppy program. So really make a list of the value. What is the benefit to the dog and the family of coming and being a part of your puppy program? And that's where you're going to see that you're going to have so much more value for the cost. And that's what you need to market, how you're helping them solve problems, making life easier, having that resource to support them, and put that together. You can have in person, you can do some virtual components to where you can, you know, jump on Zoom or Facebook and do some Q&A. You can create the program that works for your brand and your market. It's just doing that, knowing your cost and building in a profit based on your capacity.
Yeah, and the biggest thing is just making sure you're making money. And if you're the one training, so if you're the actual trainer, making sure you're making enough money that you would, if you were to hire someone else, you could eventually not outsource that, but hire someone else to take the place. But a lot of times when it's us doing the work, the business owner doing the work, we tend to discount that, well, we don't need to make money as long as the business is making a little bit. But you need to put your salary in there too to make sure you're covering the cost of that program. So
and then,
that's the secret to
yeah. And then the other thing is, okay, puppies get through this program. What's next? What are you going to recommend next that they do for your business? Because that's the beautiful thing about puppy programs is they should feed everything else. So if you have daycare, you may want to feed them to your daycare. If it's, your dog walking, pet sitting, then you can help by getting, the puppy out, because you can't go out and walk a puppy as quickly as you can an adult dog. It takes time and they can't go as far. So you can do that entertainment factor for these families that are trying to work at home and, homeschool the kids. You be that solution for that family, and always think about what are you going to recommend next. Don't just stop with that first sale. I think a part of what we're doing is we're, used to having our clients and they would call when they needed something, and that was great. Now we have to be working on suggestive selling. And I think Portia talked about just reminding clients of all the services you offer. Don't assume they know. Do more cross-selling and proactive selling. I mean, one thing I would be doing right now is really working with my front desk team, whoever's answering the phone, on selling with integrity. What can you recommend that people who call in, how can you solve their problems and sell more services to the clients that are coming through the door? So that would be another way. Look at like your average ticket sale last year per dog. And if you can get that up $1, $2, $5 per dog, that's awesome. Or even look pre-COVID and now. It's easier to sell more to existing clients than it is to go out and get new clients.
Yeah, so that was Portia said we'd just adjust our approach and not take it for granted that our customers know our services. And I had that all the time. I was telling a group the other day that I did daycare and training, and I would often run into a situation where one of my daycare clients would tell me they signed up for training someplace. And I was kind of like, did you not know we had training? Or I would have a training client, because all my daycare was obviously during the day. My training classes were all at night. So they didn't necessarily see each other. And I had different staff for both of them. So if I wasn't really intentional about letting my training clients know, hey, if you need help during the day, we offer daycare, and letting the daycare clients know, hey, if you're having problem with jumping or play biting or whatever, we can help because we have a training department. You just have to constantly remind them of that. For the new puppies, I would also look at whether you're a groomer or a trainer or daycare or a pet sitter, whatever you are, I would offer services that help with handling that puppy. Or if you're doing a puppy class, I would include that in your puppy class. And handling, meaning we're going to help your dog get used to being touched and having their ears looked at. And if it's a dog that has to get groomed, mostly dogs I'm talking that have to have professional grooming, like some of the terriers, then you can get them used to the sound of clippers or the sound of nail clippers or a Dremel, especially for every dog, because every dog needs their nails trimmed. But you don't have to necessarily do the work. You can actually set up something where you're basically helping the dog to get used to and desensitized to some of that handling. If you're a groomer, that should be a no-brainer. I would definitely do grooming packages, because you can actually groom the dog while you're doing that training. But that's a package that's going to pay off for the lifetime of that dog if you're starting them with a puppy. And we all know that for veterinarians and for daycare, for dogs that are lodging with you, and obviously for dogs that are grooming with you, if they're easier to handle, it's a better experience for everybody. So that's another great program. The other one I was going to say, and Courtney, who was on the call, I don't know if she's still on, but she started like essentially a subscription box for her own clients. So subscription boxes are super popular right now, where you can sign up and every month you get a box of goodies for your dog. So a couple treats and a couple fun toys. Well, she started her own, and she puts it together once a month, and she offers the clients to sign up. They can cancel anytime, just like with any of the other subscription boxes. And there's a delivery range that she will deliver for free within a small radius. And then otherwise you can either pick it up yourself at the facility, or they will mail it to you. And if they ship it to you, it's an extra fee. But she did it on her own. So like that's another great way. And she said it's a great way now that she's getting retail that didn't sell, that's just sitting there. She can get rid of that and not have it sitting on our shelves by using it in these subscription bags. So that's another really good opportunity to generate a little bit more revenue from clients that are currently using your services already. And especially the clients that are coming in periodically already. If you see a client once a month, then why not? I mean, it costs you nothing other than asking them if they want to do it. If they don't do it, you haven't lost anything. But if they do it, you're making extra revenue on top of that. Do you want to talk about kids and puppy classes, Susan?
Yeah, I mean, that's the other thing is what I've seen. Some of the virtual schools are barely focused on like Monday through Thursday. And so then on Friday, the kids kind of have this free day. So maybe on Fridays at a certain time, you offer a activity that kids can do with the dog to keep them entertained. And that could be like a membership program that they sign up, and it's a series, maybe, you know, until the holiday. So look at how many Fridays that would be and do a package price and just give them ideas on different things they can do with their dog. Enrichment, you could do a challenge, you know, on what is their favorite treat that they like, tricks, just doing different things with the kids and the dogs. And you kind of give them the task to do and practice for the week. And maybe they send in updates. It could be a private Facebook group. I mean, there's easy ways to do these membership type things, but I think the pet families would love to have some help with keeping both kids and dogs entertained and physically tired and mentally challenged.
Yeah. And if I was telling Susan, if I had a place where I just knew like at 2:00 on a Friday, I should go plop my kid down in front of, you know, a computer or their tablet or whatever with the dog, I would totally do that if I had younger kids. So it's a great opportunity to take advantage of that. So I know that a lot of these ideas, like then everybody gets into the wickets of like, that's too hard, or how do you do it? Or what's the platform? And Susan and I do work with a lot of software, and we have, but I'm not even saying, I'm saying do stuff as simply as possible right now, just to kick it off, because we're in a coaching program where they always say, just don't worry, be crappy, meaning don't wait for it to be perfect. I can't even tell you how many times the common thing that Susan and I always say is just get in the plane and start flying it. And you just build the plane while you're flying it. And we've launched a lot of things, not so much recently, but in the early days, especially, we would routinely launch programs and the program wasn't completed yet. It would be like week 2 weeks were completed. And I'll tell you what will motivate you to finish week 3, 4, and 5 is knowing that 100 people signed up at week 1 and all you have is the first 2 weeks done. Let me tell you, you will get the other weeks done in time because you know there's 100 paying clients that are waiting for week 3 to show up. So the thing is that most entrepreneurs, we tend to be control freaks and we tend to be perfectionists. And it takes a little bit of learning how to sort of relax your standards. So my staff used to laugh at me because they would constantly go, 80% is good enough, Robin, 80% is good enough. And I think probably now I'm really good at that. But for a long time, I wasn't. So I think that is the stumbling block that a lot of you are going to face, is you're not going to want to roll anything out until it's 100% perfect. And while I wouldn't roll out something that's horrible, I would have whatever portion that you're going to roll out be good, and then be prepared to improve it and continue it and continue working on it as you roll it out. But the object here is to provide really good, valuable information and get revenue in as quickly as possible. So all that is to say, there are lots of membership site plugins, and we can talk to you about all of that. But I would tell you, if you're going to do something like a membership right now, I would just do it on Facebook. And Susan and I actually just joined a program that is being done on Facebook, and it's working out great. It's actually kind of fun because I'm on Facebook for my own business. So it's really easy for me to jump over to the Facebook Video Attraction Lab, which is the one that Susan and I just signed up for. And I can quickly take the lessons. Facebook actually has a way of setting up units. So if you didn't know that, they actually have a way in a group to set up unit by unit by unit. So you can do sequential training. So it's kind of cool. And then you're in there with the group. So you're interacting with others. So I typically would not say do a long-term membership on Facebook because you have no control if Facebook changes things. But for what we're talking about, I think it's great. Get started there. And then if you want to move it later, you can move it later. If you decide this is going to be a permanent part of your business, you can change it. But for now, the easiest way to get going is just do it on Facebook. Same thing with, we were just talking with someone else about like doing a webinar, like a paid webinar. And I would do it on Zoom. Just don't worry about the webinar. Yeah, we recommend Webinar Jam. If you want to really go, all out, go look at Webinar Jam. But the easiest way to get started, if you have a Zoom account, which so many people have now started using Zoom, and Susan and I stumbled on this by accident. We've actually been using Zoom for like 5 years, way well before COVID. And you can now set Zoom up so you can actually require registration for whoever is going to attend that Zoom meeting. So again, if you want to do some kind of a $25 program on, you just got a new puppy, now what? Which the good thing about that, you can market outside of just your geographical area. So you can have an hour-long webinar on what to do with your new puppy, charge something really nominal, like $25. And if you get 100 people, that's $2,500. So, and it's stuff you probably already know. No matter what you're doing in the pet industry, you probably know what people should know when they first get a puppy. And I think that's the other thing is, I think a lot of times we discount the knowledge that we have. We just think it's common. We think everybody knows how to house train a puppy. So when you get that call of like, how do I house train a puppy? You're like, what? I just told them how to like basically throw a treat in a crate and let their puppy go eat it in there. but the average pet parent doesn't know that. So it's a great opportunity. You could do all kinds of educational webinars that way, just through Zoom. All right, I'm on soapbox season. I'll let you talk.
You are. All right. So, another thing we talked about, families that have kids, but I kind of run in the circles of adults who have dogs instead of kids and are working from home. And I know, the challenge is keeping the dog entertained. And so you can do virtual enrichment. So you can either do it once a week or 2 or 3 days a week, do a membership program to where, these are enrichment ideas that you can do for your dog, and take little mini breaks while you're working that will work your dog's mind, or maybe do some fun things so that they're not driving you crazy during your, because everybody's doing either Zoom calls and conferences and need their dog out. So you can also do programs that would help when their dogs are at home, keep them entertained, and then hopefully get them into daycare, because then they'll see how much more peaceful the day is when the dog's at daycare. And I think it's okay to require dogs to come frequently into your daycare, especially if you haven't seen some of these dogs since before COVID. Encourage them that they need to come back, that they probably are missing their social play buddies, and invite them back and say that, for their well-being, set up to where they have to come in, either whatever you want, once a month, once a week, every 2 weeks. You can set that up as a requirement and help boost that revenue, because it is better for the dogs. And if they're out too long, you may have to reassess them, especially if they were younger dogs. If they're anywhere between 6 months and 18 months in March, they could be a totally different dog than when you last saw them.
Yeah, and I think that's a great way to get some consistency too. And again, it's going to help the dogs. So I think Diane had said, I'm just going to show this real quick. We're starting a puppy package for daycare, 3 levels, 8 to 16 weeks, 4 to 8 months, and 8 to 12 months. Play, learn, cultivate, explore. I love that. And I think that, pet parents, there was just a study done recently through the American Pet Professional Association, I think. Can't remember. Don't quote me on that. But it was a study that was done recently since COVID on spending, pet parent spending. And what it showed was pet parents are spending the same, if not more, on their pets right now than they were prior to COVID. Now, you might say, well, I'm not seeing any of that money. And I get it. But the point is, if we need to go out of our way to create those offers to the pet parents, because they are spending money on their pets still, if not the same amount, even more in some cases. So we just need to change our thinking to say, How can we reach them? What do they need? The last thing I would say is if you have not reached out to your clients, we promoted this a lot in the beginning of COVID, is to do those calls to your clients to check in, find out how they're doing. So some of your clients you may have already seen starting to come back, but I'll bet you have a list of the clients who used to be regulars that you haven't seen at all. Make sure you're calling them and finding out what's going on with them. And it's a call just to check in, really. But by calling, making those phone calls, you may start to hear some common themes of what they need and what you can provide. So you're listening in terms of just because you care, obviously, you care about the clients, you care about the dogs. How's the dog doing? Are they showing any, crazy behaviors, or do they need a break? But you also might hear them talk about the fact that it is crazy with the dog home. And it was fun the first month, like we were really bonding, but now he won't leave me alone. Or now I really need to get back to a normal schedule, or I'm going back to work soon. Like, what are the common threads? And then get your team together and figure out what are the issues that those pet parents are having, and how can you solve the problem with services that you can create, or services that you can tweak, or service that you can totally make from scratch, and to generate more revenue for you, but also to be that valued pet professional for the pet parent as well. So we see a lot of people that are, digging in and making some big changes, and they're generating revenue. And I think everybody can be doing that, but it does take, like we talked about at the very beginning, some grit and perseverance to get through it, and to really sort of disrupt your whole business model to say something else. I'm going to have to do something else, at least temporarily. But we also are going to, this passion that Susan and I what it always comes from is the fact that the pet professionals that are doing the best job of caring for the dogs and the pets in their community, the ones that are offering the best care, the ones that do the best job of educating their staff because they want the best for those dogs, those are generally the people that show up on our Facebook lives and do education. Like, it's the people that we're talking to. That's our client for the Dog Gurus. Those are also the people we want to see succeed, because if you can't get through this, the dog world, those pets are going to lose out, because you guys are providing the best care. I don't want the business who does lousy care, who might do weird things to make money. I don't want them to succeed, because I want the companies to succeed that are making the best impact for the pets and are taking the best care for the pets. And so that's really why we're passionate to say, take this challenge with us and see what you can do to generate the revenue this year that you had last year. And you have 6 months left. That's really enough time to do it, but it's going to take a lot of hard work.
Yeah, because as every entrepreneur gets into business to solve a problem for somebody. And so people's problems have changed. And if you're not talking to them about what their current issues are, having that relationship and being a pet family, you don't know how to serve them. And that's what you're here to do. And so you can be creative and come up with new programs. And we'd love to hear what you find out, because that may help somebody else. But you've got to talk to them. Talk to the clients that are coming in, call the ones on the phone, even do little short surveys and just get feedback, because they will tell you what they need. They may not be able to express it, but if you can figure out what the problem is, come up with a solution.
I love this. Jen said they did quarantine games with Vinny, her pup who was on crate rest for 2 months. Invented 10 brain games used to go containers, paper towels, rolls, etc. It was a blast. A lot of pet, and I agree with this, a lot of pet owners don't know how useful things around the house can be. That's so funny. It's so true though, right? Yeah. That's the thing, is you guys know so much about dogs, regardless of what you're doing. I mean, we tend to think, well, trainers should be training, but and I agree with that, obviously, but all of you in the pet industry know a lot about dogs and really about all the pets you care for. And you can help those pet parents by providing that knowledge to them. And it is valuable knowledge that you have, that you've gained over years and years of working with these animals. So definitely take advantage of that. So Diane said she did calling clients, and they really appreciated hearing from us. And I mean, they are going to appreciate it, because you're checking in with them and you're checking in with the dog to see how things are doing. But like Susan said, you can also help to find what problems they're having and how to solve them. So we also, if you have not gone to our COVID-19 page, It's thedoggurus.com. I guess I should type it in the box. Thedoggurus.com/COVID-19. Doggurus.com. We have done some other Facebook Lives on specifically on generating revenue with just brainstorming a lot of ideas. So if you haven't seen those, or if you haven't heard them in a while, go back and listen to those. We talk about affiliate programs. We talk about just a whole wide variety of options. Some of them
one on puppy programs, just one whole hour on puppy programs.
Yeah, different programs you can offer for puppies. So go back and listen to those. And I would really just get your team together. And again, because this is also going to help you get your employees active and on payroll again. So get your team together and just say, hey, how can we create something? What's the fastest way we can create it? And then start rolling it out. And you'll, learn as you go and improve it as you go. Don't make it perfect initially, because perfection is the enemy. You won't ever get it started if you wait for it to be perfect. So just roll something out and go with it. But we would love to hear from you guys as you start working on things, what's working, what's not. Oh, the other one I was going to tell you to do is this would be a little bit more detailed, but I've been seeing a lot. I talked to Susan. I talked to you about this a long time ago about the dog walk.
Yeah.
Doing like some kind of a community dog walk where you're encouraging people to get out with the dogs, or maybe you're doing those walks with the dogs. And if they log a certain number of miles, maybe they get a prize from you or whatever. But you could do a paid, almost like a 5K, but it's a virtual 5K, so to speak. The pet parents have to track the miles on them on their own. I think you could do something like that too, because I will learn your dogs more. So doing some
create a leaderboard, because you get competitive people like Robin who would like go out on an extra walk just to move up on the leaderboard.
That is true. I track my dog's miles just on his GPS, which really I have his GPS in case he gets lost when we travel, but on there is a tracking thing. So he's like 300 and something in Colorado. I found out yesterday. But anyway, so you could do something where you have people pay a entry fee to be part of this virtual 5K or 10K, or you could do a 100K and they have to just walk, however many miles translates to 100K. But I don't do the math there. But anyway, that's another activity that, we had thought brainstormed. So anyway, yeah. So Jen said they're trying to figure out a dog walking club. I definitely think a dog walking club where you can I used to offer a class that was, and I think I talked about this one of the videos, but I used to offer a class that was meet at a location and we would just go on walks. And it was usually a 1 to 3 mile walk, depending on where we were walking. And people paid. It was a paid class that I offered. I can't remember the name of it, but it was a paid class. There was prerequisites. So the dog had to be, had to have some certain skills before they could do it. But we had a lot of people that wanted to do that class because they wanted to walk themselves. And I think they liked having somebody that could help them when their dog was pulling, as to techniques as to how to get the dog to pull less. And we socially distanced anyway, because I didn't want everyone walking next to each other. I didn't want the dogs playing with each other and all that. So social distancing already was happening. That was years before COVID. So I definitely think that is a great class to offer. I don't remember. I charged per 6-week session for that, but I might consider doing it like on a drop-in basis. I like doing it 6 weeks just because we had different locations every week, but you could do it on just a drop-in basis where it's just like, or you could do it like monthly too. But most of the people that we had in the class were trying to get fit. They wanted to do more exercise and they wanted to do it with their dog. But I think right now those would be really popular. So
yeah,
I think that
would be. People are missing the social aspect, even if it's, you have to be socially distanced. Just being out with other people who have a common interest is really important. And, before we run out of time, another way to boost revenue is to make sure all your current services are priced correctly. And you can increase pricing even during a pandemic. And if that's going to make the difference of you staying in business or not, your clients are going to want you to increase. So that goes straight to the bottom line. So making sure you're priced right and doing that work is an important part of making your revenue.
All right, so hopefully this was helpful. I'm going to put our little screen thing down here so I can remember to say that you should, we do have a Facebook group. If you want to continue the conversation, feel free to join our Facebook group. And I'm going to try to go grab the page real quick. On the page, I'll let Susan talk about that, just about our Facebook page real quick.
Yeah, we have a Grow Your Business Facebook page that we encourage everyone to join and be a part of. It's a nice community. Because that's one of our requirements is that you're nice. That's our rules. If you're not nice, then Robin will ban you. And if you try to sell stuff, then you might get banned, but that's pretty much it. But we have great conversations there. So we invite you to join us on Facebook and would love to know how many of you are going to take on this challenge with Robin and I and the Dog Gurus to see how close we can come to prior year's revenue.
Yep. Hopefully all of you will work on.
Don't give up before you try. That's not the entrepreneurial spirit.
Yep.
Entrepreneurs, you got to give it a try.
So yeah, definitely look at increasing your revenue, all the different things you can do. And you guys, you got it. Like you guys literally started a business from scratch. So in many ways, this is now going back to those roots and saying, what else can we do? Or what can we do differently? Or, you know, what, just get out of your comfort zone. Cause that's really what it's all about. It's about the fact that COVID has disrupted everything. And we can look at that and be upset about it, or we can look at it and say, you know what, this is an opportunity to do something totally different. And maybe it's going to be even better, which is a much better way of looking at it because we're living it whether we like it or not. So I would say let's at least be positive. So hopefully some of you will join us with that. Thanks you for joining us on Facebook Live again. And we will post this over on our COVID-19 page so you can see it back there as well. And definitely check out that page for some other revenue generating idea videos on there too. But have a great rest of the week, everybody.
All right. Bye.